Wednesday, word. Wednesday, word. Wednesday, word. And we are live. What's going on? Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube live. It's your man, Coach Rowe. Today is Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. And if it is Wednesday, you should already know what that means. It's time for the Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Tonight's topic is, whoops, wow. Let me put that there. There we go. Tonight's topic is true understanding. As always, I like to share what I mean by my topic. So what do I mean by the topic true understanding? What I mean by the topic of true understanding is that there is a surety that we have about ourselves when we absolutely know we're doing the right things, and understanding that we're doing the right things, or understanding that we have the knowledge to do the right things or make the right decisions. There's this surety that comes in that. And true understanding is really when we truly know that we've either gone through the steps and the processes, and I'm going to share some of those with you tonight, but we've gone through the steps and the processes to really truly understand something or someone or some event. So thinking about myself personally, my true understanding of myself allows me to know my own self-worth for myself, but also allows me to not give myself out to the world at a discount, because I have a true understanding of my value. So tonight I have only actually two tools for the first row that I'm going to share with you this evening when it comes to true understanding, but one tool is extremely long, so that's why I only have two tools. But let's jump straight into it. Tool number one when it comes to true understanding is there's three components of understanding. And this is why I said this is going to be a long thing. Or a long tool, not a long thing, but a long tool. There's three components. And what the reason I say there's three components is because I have actually realized that when one of these three components are missing for myself personally, when it comes to understanding, I don't function at the level that I should function at, we're going to say. I actually function in an area where I'm unsure of myself and where I suffer sometimes from the anxiety of imposter syndrome, or I may second guess myself a lot. When one of these three areas, one of these three components are missing from my true understanding, there's always something that tells me, a symptom that tells me, hey, you need to go back and get one of these components. So component number one of true understanding is common sense. They say common sense is uncommon, right? But really what common sense is it's our instinctual gut instinct that we have for things. It's almost like once you understand that stoves are hot, common sense says that if you just turned the stove off, you probably shouldn't touch it because it's probably still hot. That's a common sense. It's an instinct thing. In business, when we're not focused, when we are focused on making mistakes and then we make the mistake, we have to ask ourselves, kind of like the commonsensical question, was that something that I could have avoided? For myself in business, when it comes to like this component of common sense for me, there's been plenty of times in my career where I've made mistakes, where I've had shortcomings. Some were easy to see on a common sense scale that, hey, if you show up late to work all the time, you're probably going to lose your job, where attendance is extremely important. That's common sense, and that was an easy thing to see. But some of them were not so commonsensical, we'll say, in the sense of sometimes I've made decisions and those decisions didn't pan out. However, when I'm sitting and I'm being corrected for that decision, or I'm having a discussion about the decisions that I've made in business, I'm always able to explain clearly why I made the decision, the logical path that I took to make the decision. And I'm okay with correcting that logical path that wasn't the correct path. But I'm always in a space of common sense. So when you approached me earlier in my career and I was just coming to work late and losing jobs because I couldn't come to work on time, that was I common sense knew that I probably should have been coming to work on time, right? But as I've matured in my career, as I've gained more experience, and I'm a much more responsible adult, um, the decisions that I make are the decisions that I make, and I'm heavily relying upon my common sense to make those decisions. Now, the fortunate thing is even when again I get those decisions wrong, I'm still in a space where I felt good about the decision with the information that I had at the time that I made it. So that's number one, common sense. You have to have some type of I wanted to say insight, but you have to have some type of pulse on what your common sense is, how good it is, if it needs to improve, so on and so forth. That's the first part of this tool, the three components of understanding. The second component of understanding is process knowledge. So process knowledge is kind of like the equivalent of college, right? You can go and read all the theories behind how to do medicine and the theories behind how to do science and the theories behind English and all these different things. You can go and learn about the process. I call this book smarts, right? So if common sense is street smarts, then process knowledge is book smarts. This is what I call process knowledge because again, you typically will learn about a process, but not do a process. And so process knowledge is important because it helps you understand where you need to make, it helps you understand the subtleties, I'm sorry, and where you need to make the subtleties and how you can make better decisions with a true understanding. Um, it's not for necessarily everybody in mass quantities. For some people, they just need a little bit of process knowledge. For other people, they don't feel comfortable starting until they have the process knowledge. For me, I found like a middle ground. I'm not good with process knowledge unless I'm extremely interested in it. But the things that I would typically have anxieties or imposter syndrome about require some process knowledge. A good example of that is this week. I was in a training. I'm an analyst by trade, but I was in a training this week for a tool that I use in analytics. And I taught myself a lot about the tool on my own, like how to use the tool, how to manipulate data, and all these different things. But I got to a space where, great, I have all the knowledge that I can glean from common sense, right? I have all of that, but now I want to make sure that my process knowledge is intact, that I have a firm understanding of the knowledge that is in the theory so that I can now apply that with my common sense knowledge that I've gleaned, right? And so process knowledge is important again, because think about this. If you wanted to bake a cake, right? So I live in Utah, currently in California, but live in Utah. If I wanted to bake a cake, I could have been baking cakes for years in California. For 3 decades, I could have been baking cakes. But I might have the process knowledge on how to bake a cake. Heck, I might have been baking cakes and have the experiential knowledge of baking cakes. However, once I moved to Utah, there's an altitude change, and there comes another level of process knowledge that is required in order to successfully bake a cake. Cake is science. If you don't get the science right, you ain't gonna get a cake. If you don't get the science right and you do get a cake, it ain't gonna be good. How about that? So but taking that process knowledge of understanding, okay, I know how to make a cake. Common sense tells me some eggs, some flour, sugar, whatever, right? But now I need the process knowledge to be able to successfully make a cake at a higher altitude, because the difference between the valley in Sacramento, California and the valley in Utah is 44,000 feet. Yeah, you're going to need some different things. You're going to need some extra things to help that cake rise to the right level. So that's the process knowledge aspect of understanding, true understanding. You have to don't like to tell people what they have to do. I recommend that you don't just lean on common sense. I'd recommend that you don't just lean on process knowledge or book smarts, but that you merge those things together and take the best that you can from both worlds, depending upon your capabilities. And then the last thing, though I've already spoken about this a little bit, on the third component of true understanding, it really is about, where did it go? It's gone. There it is. Experience. I don't know what's with my tools today, but it's really about experience. And experiential knowledge is extremely important, because you can have common sense on how to do something and think that you're doing it right and be doing it wrong. You could have theoretical knowledge about a process from the book, from the knowledge process, and think that you would know how to do it, but do it wrong. It's only until you get the experience, when you have the actual tangible, hands-on, worked on, lived through experience, that you then begin to grasp true understanding of what it is that you're doing or what it is you're experiencing or how to make the best decisions for you in your life. And I liken this to when I was way younger. I was a teller for a bank, and the bank got robbed at gunpoint. Now, I remember being in training when they tell you, oh, this is what you need to do if you're ever robbed, do this, right? Common sense for me says, if you come in with a gun and you want to rob this bank, you could have all this money because I don't care like that. That's common sense for me, right? Then they give me process knowledge. Hey, these are the steps that you need to do in order if you're ever robbed, right? Hey, what's going on, brother Bruce? But then now that I have that process knowledge, it never really set in until I had the experience of being robbed. Now you have a gun in your face. The world of theory changes significantly when you are no longer just theorizing about, well, if it was me, I would have did this. You think about the action movies. If it was me, I would have just grabbed the gun. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Sounds really good until you're in the actual experience. And that experience, though it's this strange feeling, a surreal feeling where an experience feels like it's moving in slow motion, yet it's moving so fast at the same time. It's a surreal feeling. Hope you never have to experience it in that regard. But that experience, what it allows us to do is it moves us out of that process. It moves us even away from some of the things that we thought were commonsensically accurate into a space of reality. And it doesn't mean that every experience is going to change everything about what we've learned in the book knowledge or what we've learned in common sense knowledge. But what it does mean is it can subtly shift and subtly change certain aspects of what we think or what we thought was right. The other aspect of that is, again, not all of these truths are connected. Our common sense knowledge is not necessarily connected to process knowledge, which is not necessarily connected to experience. All of these things are pliable. So I might remove a truth that I thought was true up here in common sense knowledge and say, oh, that was a yes on that, and it's actually a no. I might toggle it back and forth to something that it wasn't previously. But that doesn't mean that everything else in the other process knowledge and even in the common sense knowledge category isn't true. And I think that's where we sometimes struggle when it comes from common sense knowledge to experiential knowledge, to let go of those paradigms that we thought we knew and that we want to hold on to. And let's put some ego into that. We want to hold on to because we don't want to be wrong. We want to say, yeah, I got it right. Trust me, there's tons of things that I've gotten wrong in learning things on the fly, on learning things by the seat of my pants, even learning playing the piano, learning analytics, all that stuff, learning it on the fly. There's things that I've gotten wrong, but being willing to accept that they were incorrect and change the behavior has now improved my ability to make better decisions. So those are the three components that you have that I recommend you have when it comes to true understanding. Component, again, number one is common sense or street knowledge. Common sense, your instinctual knowledge that you can have or go out and get on your own. There's process knowledge, which is the book smarts knowledge, the knowledge you can glean, whether you're researching and getting that knowledge or somebody is teaching you that knowledge. And then lastly, experiential knowledge. It does not matter about what the common sense says, what the theory says, until you actually do. So that's tool number one, which is why there's only two tools in this Wednesday word, because that was a long tool. Tool number two, when it comes to true understanding, is understanding produces confidence. And what I mean by understanding produces confidence is it's not to be confused with arrogance. Like, just because you understand something or have a true understanding of something doesn't mean you have to be arrogant, but you will be confident. It's almost like that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? They'll ask you all these questions. And I remember watching one episode where the guy just I felt like he just knew the answer to it's like somebody gave you the answers to all the tests. And so where the show is like, okay, it's A, B, C, D, and they're like, C. And he's like, is that your final answer? And then they think about it for a little bit and they're like, final answer, right? This dude was like, B, final answer. A, final answer. B, final answer. He was that confident. And it's when you have a true understanding, especially when you can combine your common sense, your knowledge base, and your experiences, when you have that level of a true understanding, you move confidently and you move differently. And I'm going to be honest with you, when you do that, some people aren't going to like it. And they're not going to not like it because you're doing it. They're going to not like it because they have yet to figure out how they can implement that level of confidence in their life. I do a lot of things when it comes to first row, when it comes to like life outside of first row, when it comes to my job. I do a lot of things. But the one thing that I do when I do them is I do them with a level of confidence, even if I don't know, right? Even if I don't know something, I do know my ability and my aptitude to learn new things, my ability and my aptitude to research and find what I need to find to accomplish what I want to accomplish. I do know those things about myself. And so I'm able to, even in when I'm in a space where there would be a perception that I would have a lack of confidence, I'm still overall a confident person. It's because at the end of the day, I know what kind of employee I am. I know what kind of friend I am. I know what kind of brother I am. I know what kind of partner I am. I know what kind of businessman I am. I know what kind of inspirational speaker I am. I know what kind of coach I am. I know who I am. And because I know who I am and have a true understanding about Billy as the individual, Billy as the father, Billy as everything that Billy encompasses, I have a aura of confidence that comes with me everywhere I go. It doesn't matter whether I'm dressed in basketball shorts or business suits. It doesn't matter if I'm in sweats or slacks. None of that matters because at the end of the day, the true understanding of that I have about myself as a person makes me feel like, hey, you know what, Billy? You're an awesome person. And it's not, again, cocky or arrogance like, man, you're awesome. You're the best person on the planet. It's not about that. It's simply understanding that the things that I do, the compassion that I have, the love that I have for people and life, and wanting to do what I would consider right by the world, right? Wanting to do what I consider right by the world. The passion that I have behind that lets me know that I'm an awesome person, hands down. And anybody else who's doing those types of things, I would think they're an awesome person too. So it's interesting that we've been taught in many ways to humble our confidence, right? Oh, you too cocky, you too arrogant. And so what we say, oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, you just saved that man's life. I was nothing, just doing my job, right? If you're a first responder, just doing my job. Oh man, you're a good father. Oh, I'm just doing what I need to do as a father. We've been taught to minimize our greatness. And I have realized that I did that for a long time in life. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm not minimizing anything about me. I am who I am. I've been blessed to have the life that I have and have the friends and the circle and the influence, even the platform of first row that I have. I've been blessed to have those things. And I'm going to understand myself and those things to the best of my ability and try to reach a true understanding at all levels so that I can confidently walk at all levels. Currently in the process of actually marketing, and I'll put up some information about this tonight, marketing a conference for men for the content that I produce called the Men's Circle. And we're going to do a conference called the Men's Circle Presents Legacy. Interact with that content, the more I'm just like, our legacy is so important. And this is for men or women, but our legacy, it is so important. And so if you're not in a space where you have a true understanding of one, who you are, and two, the things that you do, it's going to be extremely difficult to leave that legacy behind with a bunch of unsurety behind it. Oh, well, I don't know if this is the right decision. When we don't feel like when we don't feel like we have a true understanding of things, we are reluctant to teach. We are reluctant to share. We are shameful when we fail, and we don't teach the lessons that come with the failure. This is the importance of true understanding. It puts you in a space not only where your legacy that you leave behind has the ability to make its maximum impact and have its maximum influence in the lives of the people that you encounter, but it also puts us in a space to where we are less I forgot the word, less My brain wants to say inebriated, but it's not inebriated. Less encumbered. There we go. To We're less encumbered by the anxieties and the fears of just putting ourselves out there, because we understand, again, from a common sense perspective, we understand from a book or knowledge perspective, we also understand from an experience perspective. And that's really what tonight's Wednesday word is about. It's about having a true understanding of who you are so that you can make the greatest impact on the world that you live in today. So that's what I have for you guys this evening. Really quick, I want to go over the two, I'm used to the three tools, the two tools that I shared with you this night tonight for the Wednesday word. Again, tool number one when it comes to true understanding is the three components of understanding. Again, that is common sense. That is what you know, your street knowledge, right? There's process knowledge, which is your book smarts. And then last but not least, there's your experience. That it's one thing to think you know, it's one thing to research and theorize that you know, but it's a completely different thing to have an experience. And so with those three things, you'll be able to shore up your confidence. And that is tool number two, is that anytime you have a true understanding, that true understanding is going to produce a confidence. And I think I would add to that is, don't be ashamed to be confident. Be as confident as your true understanding pushes you to be. That's what I would recommend. So as always with the Wednesday word, oh, there goes my light. As always with the Wednesday word, I have a personal story that I like to share, something that kind of got me thinking about this topic. And it's very interesting how this topic came to mind, and then how it rolled into legacy. But I was actually in the grocery store with my sons, and we were grocery shopping. And my youngest son, he's super bright child, right? Super bright, super brilliant. And he's good at math. And so we're in the grocery store, and we're talking about, like, we're buying hot dogs and hot dog buns. And I was like, hot dog buns comes in packs of 6, hot dogs come in packs of 8. So how many do you need to buy of each in order to have an equal amount of buns and hot dogs? And so he's like, okay, it's either like 3 or 4. I was like, okay, well, what's 3 times 6? And he was like, 18. Okay, so you know that. Okay, what's 4 times 6? And he's like, 24. Okay, so it's 18 or 24 are your numbers. So I was like, what's 24? What's 18 divided by 8? I was like, do you have any remainders? He was like, no, you have remainders. I was like, okay, what's 8? What's 24 divided by 8? And do you have any remainders? And he's like, ooh, I don't know 24 divided by 8. I was like, okay, well, what's 8 times 2? And he was like, 16. Okay, great. What's 8 times 3? And he couldn't transition to, okay, 8 times 3 is 24. He couldn't make that transition. Shout out to Common Core Math, my theory. It's a whole nother Wednesday word. Anyway, but he couldn't make that transition. And I was sitting there thinking in my head, I felt like Kevin Hart was like, it can't be this difficult, Kevin. Like 1 + 1 = what, Kevin? Like, that's how I felt for a moment. But then it was like, he doesn't have a true understanding of mathematics yet. And granted, he's 9 years old. So like, maybe I'm a little too ambitious, but he's 9 years old. And it's like, maybe you don't know 8 times 3 is 24 yet. I can live with that, right? But it threw me back that he didn't have a true understanding of the mathematics process to be able to say, hey, I just did 8 times 2. All I need to do is add 8 to 16, and I'd get what 8 times 3 is, and I'd get 24. Now, overall, at the end of the day, he did figure out that, but it took him a lot longer. Why? Because he has common sense, and this is a great humbling moment for him, because he's always like, that's easy. That's easy. Nothing. I got that, right? But it's a humbling moment for him to say, hey, look, you have a lot of common sense knowledge, right? Because you're good at math. He's probably naturally gifted at math. And then you have your process knowledge, what your teachers have taught you about math and multiplications. But now you're in an experience, and it's not just 3 times 8. It's a problem you're trying to figure out on how to get the right amount of buns and how to get the right amount of hot dogs. This is a problem you're now trying to figure out, and that is an experience. And so this is what started getting me thinking about this whole aspect of true understanding. My son has a understanding of math, but he's yet to acquire a true understanding of math where he can commonsensically say that doesn't make sense, even though I don't know the answer yet because I haven't done the work. That doesn't make sense. I know that 3 times 6 is 18, and I know 18 can't be divided by 8. He hasn't reached that true understanding. And so that's what that experience got me thinking about, is that common sense is only one aspect of our true understanding. Book knowledge is only one aspect of our true understanding. Experience is only one aspect of our true understanding. You could have tons of experience. Look, I have over a decade of experience in analytics. I am still learning book knowledge. I'm still learning how to apply common sense as I gain more knowledge and as I have more experiences. So that was what this Wednesday word came out about. It was really about that experience I had with my son in the store, and realizing that he was missing the experience. And now he'll have that experience, but it'll take a while. Don't feel like just because you have one experience that experience is going to stick and all of a sudden you have true understanding. You might have to have the same experience a couple of times before the true understanding truly sticks. But other than that, that's really all I have this evening, except for I do want to tell you, if you have not registered yet, please, please, please head over to firstrow.com and get your registration in for the Men's Circle Presents Legacy. You do want to be in the building. This is our first in-person event that we will be having in Sacramento, California, Sunday, September 24th, starting at 9:30 a.m. And we got work to do because we go on until 4 p.m. Really quick, I do want to share if you missed this little ad on this, I do want to share that really quick. Let me pop it. You want to make sure you're there. I'm telling you now, if you're not there, you're going to be disappointed with yourself, because once you're not there, you can't go back and be there. It's going to be the first live event of many more to come, but this will be the first one that we have in Sacramento, and it's going to be a micro conference, a mini conference, where it won't be hundreds of people. It'll be a small group of men so that we can get in, get out, and we'll get in, do the work, and get out. There'll be brunch. There'll be myself speaking. I'm going to have one more additional speaker come in and speak. And yeah, you just want to be there. But other than that, the next time that you will see me live on the on the first row will be this upcoming Tuesday. We're going to be doing another session of the Men's Circle. It's going to be on giving grace. Really talking about the retaliatory nature that we sometimes have as men, oftentimes have. Let's be honest, that we oftentimes have as men, and how we can not only work on giving grace to ourselves, but extending that grace to others. So that's what we'll be working on next Tuesday on the Men's Circle. Please be there if you're a man. And then we'll have one more Wednesday word, and that will be the final finale of Wednesday word content as far as a regular staple on the Wednesday word. I'm sorry, I keep calling the first row the Wednesday word. It's like I'm having problems letting go of the first row, or the Wednesday word. See, there we go. But that'll be the final Wednesday word next Wednesday, which will be the 30th of the month, August 30th, and that will be at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So other than that, that's all I have for you guys this evening. As always, if you like this video, share it. If you share it, please like it. I'm happy to engage with you in the live chat, happy to engage with you in the comments up to the first week that the content is out, then I move on. But other than that, until the next time, thanks for tuning in. One love, peace, and God bless. Thanks for sitting on the first row.